All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from all over the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, featuring Batis Samadian, who is joining us live from Sweden today. Welcome, Batis. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? Great to be here.
We're doing awesome. You got your video coming through. Welcome, everybody, to episode 47. We're talking to Batis Samadian. He's the CEO of Space Metaverse, and we're really excited to talk Metaverse and all things Web3 today. I just have to do quick apologies for last week's episode. We had a slight microphone mishap where my microphone was in the matrix. I want to apologize to Marco and any listeners, but the conversation was so good that we had to keep it anyway, and really thankful to Marco, and we'll be having him back on the show again. And I'm really excited to talk Metaverse this week for episode 47. I'm David Karoma. I go by Chrome in the Metaverse. And I'm really excited to look at Space Metaverse with Batis. It's a really interesting kind of different angle on the metaverse, I would say, compared to some of the other spaces that we've explored, maybe voxels or Decentraland, and really kind of a little bit more focused, I would say, on the commercial side of the metaverse, perhaps, as opposed to maybe the more exploratory land ownership side of the metaverse. But I also think it's really important to look at the fact that the metaverse in this new digital era that we are entering is very multifaceted, as we've explored in some other conversations on this show. And we have to really be open to development that's ongoing and really looking under the hood and learning from that side of things, and the fact that development is a really important angle of the metaverse, right? And so I do have to just note as well, because in the past we've had some criticism of some of the metaverses that we've decided to look at, and we do not necessarily take on different projects as an endorsement, of course, right? So we're here exploring the development that's happening in the space and really trying to learn from all of the different aspects of what it takes to actually create a metaverse. What is the metaverse, and what separates, maybe the pre-blockchain, what I would call Web 2 metaverse, from the Web 3 future metaverse that we're really trying to build out, that has a little bit more layers of true ownership that can attach to a blockchain wallet, and you can hold all of your digital assets in your wallet on a sovereign kind of node, on a sovereign blockchain, right? And have real ownership over it, as opposed to some other servers or metaverses that are built on a server where all of the value is actually kept on a central server, and you're not able to maybe sell the digital assets that you have in there for real world value, and be able to take it off either in crypto and then ultimately into fiat and pay yourself. And so this is the exciting world that we're looking at, a future where basically all of the different economic angles can be duplicated in the digital world, and there's true ownership, true creativity, and the creators are being compensated fairly. So today we're probably going to be looking a lot at the kind of retail side of things. I think we've spoken in the past about the Starbucks initiative that they're taking on, kind of their new loyalty program, and the fact that it is going to be using like Polygon-based kind of tokens to reward their customers. And they're also looking towards kind of building their own metaverse space, where, again, there will obviously be a very retail-focused side of their metaverse space, probably selling coffee or gift cards, whatever the case may be. But I just think it's really interesting and important to look at, what is that future of going into the metaverse, jumping into the metaverse, and actually shopping there and handling all of your kind of commercial needs within the metaverse. So we'll see where else the conversation leads. I think there's a lot of angles to explore, and I'm really interested in what Space is actually trying to do. And it's a very cool kind of clean look that they've gone with on their site, and the different spaces, which we'll explore a few of here. So thank you again, Batis, for joining us here. Maybe before we jump into the specifics of your awesome platform and what you're trying to build here, you can give us a little bit of background on, what brought you to Web3 and the blockchain, and how are you finding it so far? So welcome again, Batis, and please share with us a little bit of your background.
sorry, just before we get started, just like caution, time-wise, about the podcast, I have about 20 minutes from right now.
Okay, no
So
problem.
let's try and get through as much awesome
We'll keep
content
this
as we
episode
can.
short. No problem.
So yeah, so I'm Batis. I'm the founder and CEO of Space. Thanks so much for having me today. Really excited to be here. So my kind of journey starts with I was born and raised in Switzerland. I got involved in crypto in 2013 together with two of my friends that went to college with me at UBC in Vancouver. And I would say it wasn't necessarily a story where it was very obvious and clear like where everything is going to be headed, and that kind of kept us very patient and curious throughout the many seasons of crypto's progression. We started basically mining out of our college dorms. And then we all kind of like, we were involved, we were hyping it up, we were building kind of like a blockchain community on campus. We were really like trying to find all the other believers. And actually, funny enough, Vancouver has been a hub for Web3 for quite some time. It's one of the
Yeah, I've
first
heard that.
places where there were like Bitcoin ATMs. As you know, the guys who started Dapper Labs and created the whole NFT smart contract are from there. It's really a hub, and even today on my Twitter feed, I'm still finding amazing people that are somewhere living underground in Vancouver. From there, I actually got involved in a bit of other topics as well. I kind of consulted quite a few early stage VR startups while I was working for this venture builder in Los Angeles. Again, kind of really super early. My cousin, who's in the video game industry, kind of gave me a heads up of like, hey, this is like still like many years away. Like, just have the patience for this. And then kind of as I was working at Zap back in 2020, I think it was kind of like the very beginning of spring of 2021 where it kind of captured my interest that, okay, it seems to be there's quite a few people who are using their virtual land to display things that could be for sale. And yeah, got to meet some really incredible people who are leaders in the whole blockchain virtual world topic. Consulted a lot of my friends in the gaming industry, and kind of came to the conclusion with a couple of really awesome people that people are probably going to end up shopping in this 3D internet once it exists. And it just felt like such a inevitable future. It's definitely unclear still, like in what shape and form that experience will be successful. But it was such an inevitable future that there was basically no way that I wasn't going to get involved. So yeah, super excited to talk about as much as we can today. But
Yeah,
that's a bit about me and how I got here.
no doubt, no doubt. Well, we'll try to respect your time here. So, looking at these different spaces in the space metaverse, it like you mentioned, kind of shopping in the metaverse seems to be the goal, and it's kind of cool how you've digitized, real world items, and then kind of have the option to click on them for sale. So, what's the vision? What's the goal of space, and how far along are you? I noticed your roadmap looks like you still got a bit to flesh out. But these spaces are pretty impressive, and it looks like you kind of cater to specific needs or specific themes in each space. But yeah, what's the overall mission and goal, and where are
Yeah,
you at
sure.
right now?
So I think the vision of space is that we believe social shopping is going to take off. We believe that social shopping, especially in three-dimensional experiences, is going to give birth to a whole new way that we're going to have brand engagements, a whole new way that we're going to be involved with products, and a whole new way that we're going to um, create immersive commerce experiences. So I have this whole theory that I believe for 3D commerce to become successful, it's going to be a stack of value propositions that are unique versus kind of like why we conduct 2D commerce right now on any major platforms that you're aware of. And so I actually believe that what the Space's vision and the whole belief for social shopping is going to be is to create a a solution that will make immersive commerce experiences a unique proposition for merchants trying to engage a new uh, you know a new generation of shoppers.
No doubt. So you think it's going to be kind of a natural thing where generation to generation, there's more people kind of shopping in the metaverse, and so it's more of a kind of long-term play. It's you don't sound like the kind that's really like banking on mass adoption, quote unquote, which is something we've kind of demystified here. But what are your thoughts on this concept of everyone's just going to rush to the metaverse or to the blockchain one of these days? How do you feel about
Look,
that?
I think whenever we've seen something take off and kind of become mainstream, right? It's because you've found something that people are ready to do or have been doing in another shape and form, and are now basically doing something percentile differently in this new proposition with a true sense of urgency, right? And I think I think the truth is, maybe we can spend a few minutes on this. I think the truth is that um, I definitely think that shopping is going to be a really strong proposition. And I mean, in the short time that we've been around, we have had over, I think, 185,000 or so people that have come onto the platform. But for a critical mass, I think there's still quite a few like infrastructural things about the metaverse that need to actually come into place before it becomes part of people's casual way of passing time.
And do you think that's an issue from like an infrastructure side, like a GPU side, like just having the ability to access these spaces, or do
I
you think
think
it's just
I think so.
understanding kind of?
I think it's a combination of technology as well as education into a new way of doing things, right? So, um, from one side, you could say that live social shopping that we've seen kind of on Taobao, Network, Pop Shop, etc., um, are the gateway to what will then make 3D commerce very successful.
Right.
But those things are still actually on the rise. They're not yet actually as mainstream as we think they are. And so, kind of like the predecessor of 3D commerce is still trying to figure out part of its kinks that make the experience really an exciting thing and create a sense of urgency for you to get involved in that. Then I think there's the technology of the 3D commerce platforms, being able to try on clothes, being able to pull products into your real life, being able to test drive products in a whole new way. And then there's kind of an industry-wide technology thing, which is this spatial information highway um, does not yet actually exist, right? So when we talk about the metaverse so far, which I guess from Space's perspective of definition, the metaverse is basically an aggregate of many virtual world experiences, creating basically a seamless spatial information highway that considers both kind of like geospatial augmented reality content as well as fantasy virtual world content. And all of this needs to be mapped, all of this needs to be indexed, all of this needs to kind of follow the way data sets and kind of like the technology behind how the internet works today would need to be infrastructure built for a three-dimensional spatial information highway. And I think that's kind of one of the most major blockers is that like we're in a funny spot where the internet exists, but the 3D internet does not exist. And so kind of like the belief for it to exist is it's a lot more plausible than if you asked, your friends in 91 if they thought this was going to happen.
Right.
Um, but um, we are just kind of like in as a result of like its attachment to crypto and kind of like the current concerns people have is that like yeah the infrastructure is not yet there, and so we're actually talking of a upcoming future all the time rather than something that's actually there.
Yeah.
And so really it comes down to the key virtual world players that are going to be leading a market segment to create experiences that are strong enough that people are tied to while the main thing is being built.
And so, with that in mind, what do you think about the argument that maybe this whole decentralized platform versus centralized platforms, right? Like when you're selling these rooms, for example, right? Are you planning to sell them as NFTs, or are these spaces in space, in the space metaverse? Are you planning to sell them kind of on chain as NFTs, or would they be purchased more like from space and just hosted on the space server?
So I actually do really believe in that virtual worlds need to be open. They need to be platforms that a community can be behind and a community can actually drive the future of, both as kind of like adjustments to the vision as well as product evolution. I think if we look at kind of like the major goal and also kind of like vision stance of Web3 virtual world companies is that um, we're all trying to kind of succeed in a very like Wikipedia-ish business model, in the sense that we want to lay the groundwork. We want to be involved in kind of like the marketing element and making sure that these become very successful products and offer our own resources. But we're all kind of building something where we believe at some point other other kind of like the community's engineers, the community's QAs, the community's
Hmm.
um, um, authors, writers, bloggers, etc., will be taking over the product,
Yeah.
and really in line with the whole kind of DAO based vision. So, with that said, I would say that Space's main focus is to make sure that we actually bring a strong value proposition to 3D commerce and prove that. But, um, you know, being kind of one of the people trying to lead the whole initiative for making the metaverse industry successful, we really do believe in being an open virtual world and allowing um, basically our fans, our contributors, to be involved in shifting, adjusting, improving the product on the roadmap. And so the Wikipedia example is really just to say, you know, Wikipedia was built by, of course, a team of people who believed in an open information vision and who wrote the initial articles. But at some point, early on in the story of Wikipedia, um, it's a community of writers who basically took over. And it's the reason why today, as soon as someone is, held up as famous, or someone passes away in history, or an adjustment is made in history, we're minutes away from someone who is passionate about that topic to go and update it on Wikipedia.
Right.
And they also act as a really good police of protecting information being true. Getting blocking fake information from spreading, etc. And I
Hmm.
believe all of these roles um, are going to be very key and important in the way incentive structures are built in DAOs, because you really want people to think that, like, hey, if I'm going to go and police this world from inappropriate content, or if I'm actually going to spend my, time, my precious time on developing something for this platform, that I will be not only recognized for it, But there's an incentive for me to do that, whether that's in the form of voting hierarchy, financial incentives, a combination of them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely all makes sense, and I like the Wikipedia example. I feel like the value of decentralization and the network effect, it does require that kind of buy-in, right? It requires the network to actually be fully aligned and seeing the value in it, and then contributing to that value, and it almost creates like a snowball effect, right?
It does. It does. And I think in general, if we look at the whole like kind of like DAO pursued Web3 business model, um, it's its own. Not to say that there isn't other ways, but as a as someone who's passionate about this way of life, I think it's a very interesting way to basically get where otherwise you would have to have a lot of resources to accomplish the same goals by working together with a community and basically, making them owners of the business as well.
No doubt, no doubt. So I did notice, like when it comes to the kind of Web3 components, your roadmap talks about an NFT sale launching, and then also, the purchase of land. So I'm just curious, what does that look like, or
Sorry, yes.
where are you at on that roadmap?
I got a bit too deep into the vision, and I actually wanted to address this. So, functionality wise, the whole thing is that yes, we believe in virtual land parcels. We want people to be able to basically buy their plot of land in our virtual world. Currently, there's been a small private sale of land, and which is why all of these experiences you see, these are people who we've worked with on a one-on-one basis and brought basically live some of these 300 partnership experiences that we have. They're all virtual land plots. And the idea is that people who have these land plots and who are building 3D commerce experiences are able to, yes, they can sell NFTs in there, they
Yeah.
can sell physical items, they can sell phygital items, they can create three-dimensional subscription rooms, they can create ticketed events. We really want to just allow them to create what they want
Yeah.
as immersive
I
experiences.
was I was looking at this Tony Tafuro phygital kind of space that he's created. It looks like a really cool art space, and then he's got these kind of clothes, which I guess you get the actual clothing, and then I believe you get the digital version as well. So like that's really
So
cool.
so we're so this is actually something else that we're very excited about is the whole phygital um, proposition in the virtual world and metaverse landscape in the future. I really believe that there is going to be this fusion where everything that you consumer product are purchasing will have always a physical plus digital value proposition as a two for one. And there are a couple of very interesting use cases. You just pointed to one, which is a phygital clothing piece, right?
Mhm.
Where your avatar could wear this clothing piece. Um, you have the physical version at home. Um, there are other versions of what I get very passionate about with phygitals is where, let's say, for example, you go to Billie Eilish's concert and you have the physical ticket. There may be a NFC tag or a QR code on that ticket that basically unlocks for you her um, 3D commerce subscription room,
Right.
or basically gives you access for it for a period of time because you bought the ticket. And then after, of course, you can resubscribe or whatever. But that's another thing. I also really believe in that it is going to gamify recycling for water companies. So let's just go with that example, right? Let's say you're Dasani or San Pellegrino or whatever. There's an opportunity there where when you buy the physical bottle, you basically unlock an experience where you now become a kind of like point gaining member in their ecosystem. And by actually doing physical recycling of the bottles, you get these points that then, unlock, I don't know, you get 100 bottles sent to your house, etc. So I really believe that digital as a value proposition is going to unlock um, some new deep belonging with brands and brand engagement.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely see that. And one thing, I know a lot of people are leery of these big corporations coming in, but I mentioned Starbucks off the top of the show. And that was another example where it's kind of phygital, right? Like you have your physical, actual coffee, but you're getting these rewards that you can then use in the metaverse. And you can actually place your order while you're in the metaverse, and have like wearables and different things that like they could wear on their avatar in this like Starbucks metaverse. But what you talked about with Billie Eilish and entertainers is definitely the future that I'm excited about. And on the entertainment side, are you thinking about events or anything like that when it comes to space metaverse, like events in the metaverse, kind of like yeah. We've seen a lot of different different entertainers kind of venturing there.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think we've actually had one comedy show as a ticketed experience. I think it's going to happen again very soon.
Nice. How
Pretty
did that
funny
go?
guy.
Was it well attended, or what was it like?
Yeah, really well attended. I have to say, beyond what our current hypotheses are at space,
Mhm.
it was a really successful experience.
Nice.
Like, crashing our site even. Like it
Nice.
was really good. And it was really funny and it was entertaining. And I think second time around it should be quite exciting as well.
That's cool. When is the next one? I'd love to check that out.
I'm not sure yet. It might be in a month's time or so. I'll definitely ping you about it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to see that. So looking at the utility NFT, what's that going to be about? I know you're looking at Q2 of 2023, and then there's the token sale as well. I was curious about those kind of on-chain dynamics of your site.
Yeah, sure. So I guess utility NFT wise, we would be talking here kind of along with what we just discussed right now, which is the phygital functionality. So what we've done is, hey, just give me a second.
No problem.
What we've done so far is that phygital as a smart contract solution is what Space has actually concentrated on and created as a solution for many builders to take advantage of. So we actually built this smart contract that allows people to build their own phygital value proposition where they can define what the physical is, they can define what the digital is, and that basically empowers people to not only as merchants know how to create a phygital very easily, but an experience where we've made it incredibly easy for customers to understand how would I mint a phygital, right?
Mm.
So if we look at how kind of like these utility um, phygital value propositions work today, um, they're not necessarily ready for consumption. They're very much in this not necessarily theoretical but very experimental stage rather than consumer ready. And what I think we've pioneered here, and really not to toot our horn too strong, but we really think that we've pioneered how to make it easy and simple to understand for people how to create their own phygital value proposition.
Nice. So you're going to be handling the minting in house then, and what blockchain are you planning to utilize?
So we're about to come out with a big announcement. We're doing this together with Polygon and then with a Flow blockchain from Dapper Labs.
Okay, cool.
This should be very exciting.
Nice, nice. Polygon and Flow, very cool. And the token
And then,
side, is it going to be like
so
yeah?
to answer your question quickly on the land roadmap, token roadmap, potential other things. There is probably going to be some suffered delay because of the market to the token launch. I think that's just kind of like in the interest of everyone who's believed in us in the start to not launch
Yeah.
it in a time where it would just tank, right?
And why do you feel you need a token? Just curious.
So, I mean, we're a Web3 focused business where being an open virtual world, you really want to incentivize your community to kind of see us as like a whole new way of making money in life, right? I think this new way that merchants, developers, policers of a virtual world, QAs sitting all around the world that could be giving you the feedback on how the product's working. There are very intelligent economic models that you can build around a in-game currency where they can basically receive this space dollar um, by being involved in your success. That's why I believe in kind of like tokenized virtual worlds, is because I believe there is this way through kind of virtual world DAO economics to basically allow people to be involved in your success.
No doubt. That is the goal for sure. To your earlier point, all too often with these tokens, it just becomes about pumping and dumping, unfortunately, right? And that's where people get hurt, and organizations that have genuine intentions for their token, the whole dynamic gets complicated because you got people kind of abusing it essentially, right? So it becomes hard to protect yourself.
It's definitely a true shame when that happens, and when there's too much hope and kind of like wrong belief in a project through the token, rather than I guess good fundamentals.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, that's really exciting. I definitely will be keeping an eye out for that token sale. And looking at like the kind of digital assets, like, are you familiar with Ready Player Me? I know there's an avatar. You guys seem to have your avatar system kind of built in. How do you feel about a future where there is a kind of consistency across different metaverses, where you have like your main avatar that you can pull into different spaces? Or do you think that each space should kind of have its own theme, and that interoperability, that's the big buzzword, right? Do you think it's maybe overstated, or do you think it's important?
So first of all, having a project like Ready Player Me and using that avatar as a sign-in across many different world experiences is, for me, an inevitable future.
Mm.
That's kind of the whole kind of big deal in all of this, right? It's that like the user that you are can travel with that same identity across many different virtual worlds. What is my take on interoperability and where it's at? So actually, it's one of the working groups in the Open Metaverse Alliance that we created. So, I mean,
Nice.
there's definitely like thought leadership and engineering leadership going into trying to tackle what is the best way for NFT and asset and kind of like avatar login interoperability across worlds. I think is a very like complex topic. It may also be thought about in the wrong way in its current state.
Mm.
Most avatar company projects, without going all too much in detail, are still very much working in the manual, hand holding, white glove kind of way of like making those cross world partnerships even happen, or
Right.
rigging clothes onto avatars, right? Like, we're not even yet there where I actually buy a wearable and it just snaps onto this avatar, without anything, right?
Yeah.
So what do I think? I actually think that omni-chain might be a more elegant, simple solution rather than the whole interoperability um, way of tackling it. I don't know what you know about omni-chain, but basically
It's
it's the
kind of the
concept where, like,
multiverse angle, right?
yeah, it's just more it's a very pragmatic way of thinking about how to solve it, right? Like, the interoperable way is to say, hey, this NFT that I got, whether it was on a on Polygon or any other EVM network, will now, you know, basically convert itself and over and over convert itself and be basically able to talk cross chain to many different solutions all the time, right?
No
Whereas
doubt.
the omni chain approach is more like, hey, okay, congrats, you minted this product. click to choose in how many different chains you want to download it and have it in, right? It's kind of like if you think about let's say you're buying a song. You can have it as a .wave, you can have it as an M4A, you can have it as an MP3, you
Right.
can have it as an AAC. Um, and that's kind of the omni-chain approach versus the interoperable approach. And so, in a way, to me right now, in like a personal bet, I think both have just as much of a like at being successful, because why not the omni-chain way?
Yeah.
There's not really many debates I'm seeing. I mean, there may be some very intelligent people that might think about it differently, but right now, to me, that seems just as much of a viable way of solving the problem.
That's an awesome. I'm glad you put a name on that, because honestly, I think that's where I line up right now. I've always thought interoperability, and maybe it's my background from the gaming space too, but I've always thought it was a little bit overstated, right? The idea that it's so important that I can jump into this chain and that chain and the next one or the next metaverse space with the exact same avatar and the exact same wearables. I'm like, like I can see the value in that, but at the same time, having these different chains that you can jump across through links, but still have very different kind of avatars or different digital assets in each corner of the metaverse, as it were, that seems okay to me, and it seems pretty reasonable, as long as there is, like you say, a certain level of not even interoperability, but omni-chain, yeah, multiverse, jumping from one metaverse to another. And you mentioned
Yeah.
briefly, sorry, what do you think about that though? Yeah, is that what you mean by
Yeah,
omni-chain?
I mean, look, yeah. So I think the deep technology part is definitely very complex, and we shouldn't really brush over it in such high level contexts.
Mm.
But nonetheless, I think one of the big learnings in this current bear market is that, like, hey, you know, where has business always succeeded? It's when consumers understand what they're doing and understand the value proposition, and it's super easy to use, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, no one who is actually going to be a shopper or a player in the metaverse is ever going to be using this language that we're talking about between like, oh yeah, no, I don't know if my hoodie is interoperable or whatever. No chance.
Yeah.
I also really believe that phygital is not the end all name that we're going to be calling what this 2-for-1 value proposition
Hmm.
is. There's there's just many things that you can actually learn from people like Dapper Labs or Apple that end up really having a good understanding of what um, humans really care about, and how they want to consume things, and the key to simplicity that, yeah, I think Roham and the Dapper Labs crew are doing a great job at understanding in a very Apple-like way.
That's awesome. Yeah, make it easy, right? Make it simple and make it fun, make it engaging. You did mention the Open Metaverse Alliance there briefly, and that is something I'd love to just pick your brain on a little bit. I've heard, few people that are members, very important, kind of influential metaverse spaces are members. So, what is the real goal of the Open Metaverse Alliance? Are there like kind of big corporations involved as well, or is it more like looking at Meta, for example, or some of these other ones that are seeming to try to make power moves, right? What's the goal of Open Metaverse Alliance? Does it stand in kind of contrast to those, or is it working in alliance with them, or how does it frame
Yeah,
itself?
sure. So the way that I would say what the OMA 3 Open Metaverse Alliance is all about, it's to be a consortium that is here to stand for creating standards and protocols for the open metaverse. And our mission is very much driven around protecting user data ownership, making sure that as the metaverse evolves, the key players are being conscious of, like, that you remain an open SDK. You are allowing people to have true user data ownership. We're not going back to how data hoarding works in its current stance, and
Amen.
basically solving a lot of these big infrastructural problems around portaling, mapping, indexing, land domains, standardizing land protocols, asset interoperability. Um, so that's our goal. if for all the other kind of like groups, initiatives, etc., working on something similar, wherever we're aware of them, we try and get in touch, and we try and find ways to collaborate, find ways to find syncing points. So, for example, if we are working on portaling and indexing, if there's some other group that's taken an initiative or that has kind of tried to tackle the problem in a different way, we want to be in the same room together and concluding on something that we think at least the major virtual worlds would adopt and help standardize.
That's amazing. That's exactly what we need. I need to dig into that a bit more and maybe see if I can find a way to get involved. But looking at the idea of an SDK, for example, that's open, accessible, and on the data hoarding side, I mean, that's everything to me. I think my hope is that the Web3 ethos gets rid of once and for all, like really data pillaging, essentially, right? And so would it be fair to say that this open metaverse alliance, anyone who's a member of it is not going to be overly monetizing data or monetizing data at all?
Yeah, so it's actually it's kind of like an oath that you have to take if you're going to be part of the OMA 3.
Let's
It's
go.
basically like key principles, and otherwise you would not be able to stay a part of us.
Let's go. Because that's everything. I think the future that I'm hoping Web3 ushers in is a future where people understand the importance of their sovereign data, their sovereign ownership of all the assets in their wallet, or even just in the metaverse more broadly, right? Having the opportunity to actually own every piece of digital goods that you have in the metaverse. Like I have a quite healthy NFT collection, and we do here at Web3 Warriors that we're very proud of. And a future where buying and selling the beautiful digital art in the metaverse is that much easier, and that's what we're looking forward to. And I think we need that kind of community working together, like the Open Metaverse Alliance. And that's what I had kind of gathered from the bits that I've read about it. But what you just described sounds perfect. So I got to support the OMA as much as I can. And thank you, Achis, saying he's going to check out the website there. If anybody else in the chat has any questions, this is your time. I know we got to wrap up. Batis is a very busy guy here. Thank you for sticking with us. So maybe I just ask you, like, how do you think that the onboarding is going? And how do you kind of counter some of the doubts and FUD, as we call it in the space, fear, uncertainty, and doubt around blockchain on one hand, but then even around the metaverse more broadly? There are the fear mongers and that kind of thing that are kind of worried about digital world taking over and not touching enough grass and all that. So how do you kind of counter some of that doubt? Yeah.
Look, I think it's not the first. So a couple of things. It's not the first time that we've tried to popularize virtual worlds in the history of tech, right? It's been tried a couple of times. Many times it's come and gone in fads. I think the major difference this time around is that it's about the aggregation of virtual world and augmented world experiences as a three-dimensional or spatial information highway. This is the key difference versus any previous approaches where it's been about that one company that becomes the biggest virtual world company as a business approach, right? This is a whole different situation. So from that perspective, it's either going to happen and we're going to have a three-dimensional internet, which I find to be an inevitable future for mankind,
Mm-hmm.
or it's just all going to go away, right? It's possible, but unlikely.
That would be dystopian future, right?
Yeah, so I think it's an inevitable future, and for people that kind of like doubt it or whatever, sure, but there will be a three-dimensional internet in one shape or form. Maybe the solutions today may not be the kind of like key holders to what exciting experiences are supposed to be, but that's anyway happening, right? And I think to answer the FUD around blockchain, it's I think it's been well argued for and against for quite some time now. Of course, as with any bear market in crypto since whatever, 2009, 2010.
Right.
Every single time there is that group of people that just like show up just with the bad news, and they're like, aha, you see, bro, this stuff all doesn't make sense, etc. And then they all get excited when the world is in a better place again, right? So I think the key thing to take here is that there's definitely bad projects. That's in every industry the case. And especially when industries go through their gold rush, right? Through their major innovation moments, there are always people who are just trying to get a quick buck or try and kind of like not be focused on the true innovation behind it, but rather the the fundraising element of it, right? That's why
No
there's
doubt.
so many blockchain landing page projects that never really
Ugh.
move forward, right?
Yeah.
But fundamentally, user data ownership goes hand in hand with the vision of many layer technology companies, right? So I don't think that's going away. Will someday blockchain be, the best way to solve for user data ownership? Who knows? There may be someone working on something that's an even more elegant solution that 10 years from now will be the better way to, manage user data ownership.
Right. But
But it's
user,
very complex, it's far away, and I
yeah.
think to answer your question, for people doubting it, look for the best use cases, right? And I think kind of like as a closing thing towards use cases and good business opportunities, right? Look at things like Links DAO, right? I met the team in New York about a year ago or so. Links DAO is a really good example of using using blockchain for a very obvious business use case. For those of you that don't know, Links DAO is a Web3 golf membership.
Nice.
And so basically, you're part of owning golf clubs around the world. You actually own physical ownership of the land on golf courses. You receive airdrops. You may receive gifts, etc. So that's a really good use case to involve crypto and blockchain. And I think that's kind of like for anyone fudding, yes, you are fudding for the right reasons, probably, because most of the time people are not using it for good business use cases. So I definitely can understand both sides of that argument.
You got empathy for the fudders.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
I've learned how to deal with them.
No doubt. Shout out to Achis. He was just saying he was checking out your site. That's tryspace.com, and he thought it looked really awesome. Achis is an artist who has joined us in the past from Brazil, and he's done some really cool stuff in the metaverse. So maybe he'd be a good one to reach out to. You can reach out to Batis. We'll have his link in the description.
Yes, please hit me up in a DM. I'd love to help set you up with your own brand experience. That would be awesome.
Beautiful. There you go, Achis. And how does one like really create their own? You mentioned the SDK. Is it a fairly simple thing, just reaching out to your team and getting involved with setting up a space? And how does that work? Just reach out to you direct.
Yeah. So I think the Open SDK thing that I was mentioning was more for the Open Metaverse Alliance as kind of like a perspective and oath for how we think the metaverse should grow.
Gotcha.
For people who want to build their own virtual rooms, so if you go on TriSpace, you'll see there's a button that says Create Space.
Right.
And if you click that, you'll go through a setup wizard of creating your own commerce experience. If you're stuck with it, DM me. I'm more than happy to jump on and show you guys how to go through the tutorial. But it's supposed to be a very easy setup wizard where you could have your own commerce store in 4 minutes.
Wow.
So we're really excited about our solution in that sense.
All right. Well, I'm going to test it out and I'll let you know how long it takes. Hopefully not too much longer than 4 minutes.
Please do.
Very cool.
David, it was such a pleasure to speak with you today.
Yes.
And to be part of your channel and to be able to talk to you about how the metaverse is evolving. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I appreciate you, Batis. Thank you for joining me from your spaceship there. You got your alien buddies. I appreciate your time. We'll catch you in the metaverse, and definitely take care, and we'll be in touch. I'll definitely continue to promote space and see what we can do together. I like that Open Metaverse Alliance, so I'm going to be reaching out with more info.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Yes. Thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate you.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That was Batis Samadian, and he was able to join. That's CEO of Space Metaverse. It was really good talk. I really learned a lot about the Open Metaverse Alliance, especially, and he stayed a little longer than he was going to be able to, so we're grateful for that. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I just want to do a last quick plug as well. We do have our commemorative NFT token currently available. It'll be available for 7 more days. So if you want to access that, it's going to be able to give you not just commemorate the fact that we've been around for a year now, and we are now 47 episodes in, talking to some amazing creators and really hearing about what's happening in Web3, why the Web3 creator economy is very different than the way that the economy was functioning prior to Web3, and what we're trying to build out here in the digital space. That's very exciting. So celebrating a year of that with this commemorative NFT we minted on Manifold, and anybody who claims this limited edition mint is going to be able to get VIP benefits at any event that we have in the future. That includes in the metaverse or in the real world. We're working on some pretty cool events here locally in Winnipeg, Canada, where I'm at. So you'll be able to maybe get some free drinks, maybe get free access at the door, whatever the case may be. And we're also working with a couple DAOs on events in the metaverse and at some other bigger Web3 events internationally where we might be sponsoring. So there may be all kinds of random perks that are few, guests that really take the initiative and pay the gas fees, guests and listeners, I should say, who take that initiative and pay the gas fee and claim their NFT. We promise that we'll make it worth it for you. And we're just excited to have our first NFT on the blockchain specifically for the podcast. We do own a lot of NFTs as we've been collecting beautiful art from different NFT community members and artists and creators, and we will continue to do so into 2023. I just want to thank all of our listeners, all of our guests that we've had in the past. We're really looking forward to what Web3 is going to bring in 2023. We'll see how the markets go, but regardless of that, we're hearing about some really exciting projects that are being built, and we're really looking forward to hearing from the creators who are building those projects and sharing it with the world and sharing it with all of our listeners so that people can be inspired and realize that this isn't just about coins, 10xing in price. It's not about NFT collections being worth tens of thousands of dollars for your NFT. It's really about supporting creators, supporting artists, musicians, videographers, any form of creativity, digital 3D asset creators, builders, so that's really what we're about here at Web3 Warriors, is focusing on the technology, focusing on the creation and the creativity that we're kind of surrounded by in this place. So thank you, everybody who's tuned in over the whole year that we're celebrating. Thank you to everybody who does claim the Manifold NFT. I'm sure it will be a very limited edition, although it is open. So there is an unlimited amount of mints, but after this 7 days, it closes off, and there will never be another commemorative NFT like that. Our first NFT, and any other NFTs we do in the future will likely not provide the same level of benefits that this free NFT will provide. So last plug on that. You can get the link for our Manifold NFT on the Twitter, and we'll have it in the description for this episode as well. And so, yeah, we're really looking forward to talking to some more creators in the weeks ahead, and we will be back next week at 12 p.m. Eastern, as always, with Web3 Warriors. And until then, we'll catch you in the metaverse. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing weekend, amazing week ahead.